welcome to this week's episode of Food from Fiction. We're going to tackle the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Obviously, a potato peel pie features a large part in this, but there's not a lot of existing recipes from the occupied territories that you actually would want to eat. So we're going to do a really close cousin to the potato peel pie, and we are going to make a vegetable, a completely vegetable pie that was made a lot on the British Isles that were not occupied, especially towards the end with all of their food rationing. And hopefully that will give us a good glimpse of the austerity and just the lives and the food that were available to be eaten. So we're going to prepare a bunch of vegetables and put them in a large pot and boil them, because this is the 1940s and we boil the heck out of all of our vegetables. I recently watched a show. It's a BBC program, and it's called Absolute History, and there is a segment where the historians and archaeologists are living and trying to recreate what it was like to live on a farm in England during World War II. And if you're curious kind of about, obviously not an exact replica since Guernsey was occupied and England was not, but if you're looking for kind of, some of the things that these people had to go through, I think pull it up on the internet and watch it, because it'll give you a better sense of the things that our characters face in our book. It's a mouthful. Who needs to say that name again? I really enjoy this book. I know that World War II books, fiction, there's a camp of people that are they're over them, they're tired. So if you're one of those people, come speak to me personally, because I have some things to say to you. But preparing and dicing and getting these vegetables on to boil is going to take me a while, so I will turn off the camera and turn it back on when something exciting is happening. 12,000 vegetables later, and I have underestimated the amount of vegetables apparently going in one pie, but this is what the recipe tells me. We're going to cover that in as much water as we can. We'll need to get more water. And then it tells you that they added a spoonful of oatmeal and a spoonful of either marmalade or vegetable extract. So, and then we're going to put this on to boil and boil all these vegetables until they are soft. And then, only then, are we going to tackle the pastry for our pie. This is because the pastry is made out of potatoes, and if you leave cut potatoes out in the air for too long, they turn brown and gross, and we don't want our pastry to look like that. So we're going to boil away and get ready, but not do our pastry until our vegetables have been boiled into their 1940s mushy selves. So I guess It won't be any time for you, but I will see you guys in a while. Vegetables have finished boiling. They're soft. Their kitchen is, while this is not the most appealing recipe we have made, it's actually probably the grossest smelling thing. So keep that in mind should you choose to recreate the cooking of England at the end of World War II. It is not the best smelling thing in the world. We're going to drain all our vegetables. Whew. Okay, and hopefully some of that delicious boiled cauliflower smell starts to dissipate. Alright, and now we are on to the very exciting thing of making potato pastry for our pie. We have flour because they were still allowed to eat flour. We have the tiniest amount of fat because fat was really, really rationed. And then we are going to, once we cut the butter and fat into the flour, we will add grated potatoes, but we've got to do this part first. I thought we could talk a little bit about the book, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. So it was really popular a couple years ago. Netflix made it into a movie. It's a gorgeous movie, but it maybe doesn't, it leaves you with questions and doesn't, you know, no movie's quite as good as the book. There are some exceptions, but yes. So I thought we would just talk a little bit about the events and the history and what's going on in this book. So it's set post World War II. It's all written in letters, and the main character is curious about a literary society on Guernsey during the occupation. So Guernsey is an island, one of the Channel Islands. It's located between France and England in the Channel, and it was occupied. It's the only, I think the only official part of England that is occupied by the Nazis throughout the war. They move in 1940 and they stay there until the end. And so a lot of the events that happen in the book that are retold, and it makes it sound like it's just one person that experienced them or had these things happen to. That's not true. Most of the events that take place in the book are real. They just were spread out over the number of years, and different people, they happen to different people, not all the same person. Because of the occupation and because England made choices and didn't necessarily come to their rescue, they definitely had a lot of the hardships that other places in occupied Europe faced, and Germany, once things started not going so well. And one of the big things is the food rationing, which England also had a lot of, which is why we can make this Woolton pie, is its official name. So yeah, these are the people that, you know, had to add sawdust to their bread and find alternative methods of keeping themselves alive. There's lots of information out there about the occupation of Guernsey. especially, again, because of the book and the film. So check it out. It's pretty interesting. And we finally broken that down into there. So now we have to put grated potato in, that's the oven, in that's just, hold on while I break things. Right, so because potatoes don't require fat as a binding agent, this is something that the food ministry, I think, devised as a way to counteract the fierce rationing that happened in England. So now we just add these in. I'm going to prep our spot and find all the things we need for our pie making, and then we'll see what it's like to roll out potato pastry. This last step of the pastry making has to go quickly, again, because the potatoes are on the clock now. So we just add that in. It's really hard to explain what my kitchen and now the whole entire house smells like, but it's not good. The vegetables we used were cauliflower, spring onions, potatoes, carrots, and rutabaga. So if you can imagine the worst smells you get from all of those when you boil them, that is the aroma. So now we're just adding water to this pastry, trying to bring it together really quickly so we can, finish cooking and air out the house. While I might not be super thrilled about what this smells like, I guess if this is what you have to eat, and you've been hungry for a long time, then this would be much more delicious and appetizing. But I think this is one of the cool things about living history projects and the more hands-on approach to some history is that you can read about things, but until you actually experience them as much as you can, you'll never understand fully what the whole thing is like. And cooking just this one dish while I'm not hungry or in any danger or anything like that is really, it has been an eye-opening morning for what it must have been like to live under severe rationing. So now we just, like all of our other pie crusts, we just roll it out as big as we need. It's a nice feeling pastry, so hopefully this tastes good. Maybe it's just the boiled cauliflower smell isn't for everyone. And in case I didn't say it, I definitely recommend the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I think it's a really fun book, and I think the fact that it's written all in letters really adds something extra to it. Obviously, I'm a fan of happily ever after-y sort of books, but and there's not a lot of that necessarily with our World War II fiction. Okay, we vaguely have a piece of pastry that's big enough for our pie plate. From best I could tell in my research, pie plates in the 40s are the same as they are now, so let's just see how this goes. Alright, well, I have enough vegetables to make 2 pies, but I don't think that's happening. And we'll just kind of finish her off here. Alright, this is not the most beautiful pie, but it's also not the, as I've said like 20 times now, not the best smelling pie, so make some steam holes and into the oven, and I can start to reclaim my kitchen. And this is one that I will definitely eat in front of you because I feel like it's going to be an experience for all of us. Our pie is out of the oven, and I've let it cool down just a little bit, so it might be more pleasant to eat. If you can see this is what it looks like. It looks pretty good. It smells way better than it did before. Nobody is running from the house because it smells so bad anymore. Yes, this house is full of drama queens, but it's okay. We know it. So if you search for Woolton pie recipes, modern recipes, you know, involve cheese and dairy and yummy other delicious things that just were not available to people living under ration conditions. So here we go. Let's see how this turns out. I'm so nervous. Okay, so the crust isn't terrible. Actually, the crust is pretty good. I would eat this crust again. A lot of pie crusts are like really heavy and you're just like, and so dry and you're just like, ugh. This one is not like that. All right, let's try the scary vegetables. This is my very first piece of rutabaga, so. It's okay. So my takeaway from this is, if you love boiled vegetables, you are going to absolutely adore this dish. If you don't love boiled vegetables, it's going to be a little sad. I think if I made this again, well, obviously I would never boil these vegetables. I would probably like oven roast them and then put them in a pie, because I'm all about crunchy vegetables. But, you know, this is actually edible. It's not like the most delicious thing, but it would be filling, and you could keep working on your farm and not freeze to death. So, you know what? I think my big takeaway from this is before people sign war declarations on one another, their leaders should be forced to eat boiled vegetables and ration foods for like a week straight, just so they know what's coming and think twice. But I would definitely recommend making this, maybe not for consumption, but just to understand and have a brief glimpse at that micro history of what it would be like to live under such conditions. And again, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society is a fantastic book. I really enjoy it. I try to get other people to read it, and you know, I might not feed this whole pie to the birds, and that's as good as it's getting after me complaining the rest of the time I made it. So sign up for spots to come into the library. We're reopening this upcoming week. 4 people in the library at a time. Our website has a button where you can register and reserve a slot, because we want to see you all in there. And because of this might mean that Food from Fiction is a little bit more sporadic, because I'll be back in the library and not in the kitchen. So I will try to stay as regular as possible until the library is completely without restrictions. So see you guys in the library, and see you for the next episode of Food from Fiction. Bye!